Brenda realized that he hadn't even held their daughter since she was born. Worried, she finally confronted him. "Ken, what's wrong?" Brenda asked, gently, her voice tinged with concern. Ken's face darkened with anger, and he snapped, "This baby is not mine." Once upon a time, there was a lady named Brenda. She met a kind man named Ken in her final year of school, and they both fell in love. After finishing school, they both went to do the National Youth Service Corps, known as NYSC, in the same state. During this time, Ken asked Brenda to marry him, and she said yes. After their service year, Brenda and Ken found good jobs. They were so happy to be together and decided to get married. Their wedding was so beautiful. Everyone talked about it. Brenda and Ken went on a special trip to Paris for their honeymoon. They had so much fun and talked about starting a family because they both loved kids. After 6 months, Brenda didn't get pregnant. They went to the hospital and the doctor had said they were both healthy and could have kids. Brenda worried a lot, but Ken told her not to be sad because they were still young and had the time. 2 years went by. Brenda still wasn't pregnant. People in their community started asking why they didn't have kids yet. Brenda felt so sad and wanted a baby more than anything else. Ken tried to make her feel better, but Brenda couldn't stop crying every night. One evening, after visiting another hospital, Brenda sat on their bed, tears streaming down her eyes. Ken hugged her and said, "Brenda, I know it's hard, but we are in this together. We will definitely find a way, I promise you." Brenda sniffled and said, "But what if we never have a baby? What if something is wrong with me?" Ken wiped her tears and said, "We won't give up. We will keep trying, and if we need help, we will find it. But no matter what, we have each other, and that's what matters most." Brenda nodded, feeling a little better, knowing Ken was by her side. They held each other tight, hoping and praying for a miracle. Years went by, and Brenda and Ken's hope of having a baby grew dimmer. 2 years turned into 3, and 3 turned into 4, but still they weren't pregnant. Brenda couldn't stop thinking about having a child. One day, she bravely brought up the idea of adoption to Ken. "Ken," Brenda said with a hopeful look in her eyes, "what if we adopt a child? There are so many children out there who would need parents as loving as us." Ken sighed, patting Brenda's hand. "Brenda, our time will come. I believe that. We just need to be a little more patient." But Brenda couldn't shake the longing in her heart. She joined different prayer groups for expectant mothers and asked Ken to join her, but he always found an excuse not to go. He kept saying Brenda worried too much, but she just wanted to be a mother more than anything else. Despite their struggles, Brenda and Ken continued to excel in their careers. On the outside, they looked like the perfect couple, but inside, they were longing for a child. During their 5th year of marriage, Brenda finally convinced Ken to consider an IVF, an in vitro fertilization. She was so excited at the prospect of becoming a mother and couldn't wait to hold their baby in her arms. They went to the doctor and started the process for an IVF. Brenda followed all the doctor's instructions carefully, hoping and praying that this would be their miracle. Brenda finally became pregnant. Excitement filled their home as they eagerly awaited the arrival of their baby. Ken was filled with so much joy, showering Brenda with love and care, making sure that she had everything she needed. But their joy was short-lived when the IVF failed. Brenda was devastated. She felt like God had forsaken her and blamed herself for the failed attempt. She even threatened to harm herself, but Ken was always there by her side, comforting and assuring her that they would try again. "It's not the end of the world, Brenda," Ken said, wiping away her tears. "We will keep trying until we have our miracle." Brenda nodded, finding strength in Ken's words. She continued to trust and hope for a child. After the IVF failed, Brenda fell ill, and Ken suspected it was from the stress they had been through. He rushed her to the hospital, fearing the worst. But when the doctor examined Brenda, he had a surprising news. She was pregnant. Brenda and Ken couldn't believe it. They were shocked but overjoyed. The doctor gave them some advice on taking care of Brenda during her pregnancy, and they happily left for home, excited about the unexpected blessing. At home, Ken pampered Brenda like never before. He made sure she had everything she needed and more. As Brenda's belly began to grow, Ken decorated the baby's room with colorful toys and cute little clothes, eagerly anticipating the arrival of their bundle of joy. Every evening, Ken lovingly cared for Brenda, feeding her and massaging her tired legs. They were both excited to become parents, and their home was filled with love and anticipation. When the time came for the gender review scan, Brenda and Ken went to meet the doctor together. And when the doctor announced that they were having a girl, Ken's excitement knew no bounds. He had always dreamed of having a daughter. On the day of Brenda's delivery, Ken was right by her side, holding her and encouraging her every step of the way. They had been waiting for this moment for so long, and finally their baby girl arrived, filling the room with her cries. Something unexpected happened. As Brenda held their daughter for the first time, she noticed a change in Ken's demeanor. His eyes were distant, and he seemed detached from the joyous moment. Days passed, and Ken's mood didn't improve. Brenda realized that he hadn't even held their daughter since she was born. Worried, she finally confronted him. "Ken, what's wrong?" Brenda asked, gently, her voice tinged with concern. Ken's face darkened with anger, and he snapped, "This baby is not mine." Brenda was shocked. She knew without a doubt that the child was Ken's. They had been through so much together, and she couldn't understand why he would say such a thing. "What do you mean she's not yours?" Brenda demanded, her heart pounding with fear. Ken's voice was bitter as he replied, "She's an albino, Brenda. She can't be mine." Brenda's heart sank as she realized the depth of Ken's prejudice. She had never expected him to react this way, and it broke her heart to see him reject their daughter because of something as trivial as the color of her skin. But Brenda knew she had to stand up for her daughter. With tears in her eyes, she held her baby close and whispered, "She may be different, Ken, but she's ours. She's a part of our family, and we will love her no matter what." Brenda named her precious daughter Mara, and as the days passed, Ken's attitude didn't improve. He continued to accuse Brenda of cheating on him, insisting that Mara couldn't possibly be his child because she was an albino. Brenda was heartbroken by Ken's accusation. She swore to him, tears streaming down her cheeks, that she had never been unfaithful and would never betray him like that. But Ken wouldn't listen. He was convinced that his family had no history of albinism, so Mara couldn't be his daughter. Feeling desperate and confused, Brenda tried to reason with Ken. She explained that anyone could have a child with albinism, regardless of their family history. But Ken remained stubborn and ignorant, refusing to accept the truth. One day, Ken's mother came to visit them and meet their granddaughter Mara for the first time. She was overjoyed to see the beautiful baby, marveling at how much Mara resembled one of Ken's aunties. But when she mentioned this to Ken, he dismissed it, adamant that Brenda must have cheated on him. Brenda couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She poured her heart to Ken's mother, telling her how Ken had never even held Mara since she was born. She hoped that Ken's mother could help him see reason and accept their daughter. Ken's mother listened to Brenda's cries. With a heavy heart, she knew she had to do something to help her son understand. So, she decided to share a family secret with him. "Ken," she began gently, "did you know that one of your granduncles had twin albinos?" Ken's eyes widened in surprise, but he still seemed skeptical. "But how is that possible?" he asked, his voice filled with doubt. His mother sighed and explained, "Albinism is a genetic condition, Ken. It can show up unexpectedly in any family, even ours. Your granduncle's twins were the most beautiful babies I have ever seen, and they brought so much joy to our family." Ken was silent for a moment, processing this new information. Finally, he spoke up. with his voice softer. "But why didn't anyone ever tell me about this before?" His mother placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Ken, my son, I suppose it was something we didn't talk about much, but now that Mara is here, it's time to embrace her fully as part of our family." Ken nodded slowly, his mind racing with thoughts. Then he turned to Brenda and said, "I think we should do a DNA test." Brenda's heart sank at the suggestion, but she knew it was necessary to prove Mara's paternity once and for all. With a heavy heart, she agreed, hoping that this would finally put an end to Ken's doubts and bring peace to their family. After the DNA test was confirmed, Mara was indeed Ken's daughter. He felt a deep sense of shame for doubting Brenda and accusing her wrongly. Ken apologized to Brenda with tears in his eyes, expressing his regret for not trusting her from the beginning. Brenda forgave him, relieved that their family could finally move forward together. Ken also apologized to his mother for not believing her when she shared the family secret about his granduncle's twins. He realized how much he had hurt both Brenda and his mother with his doubts and ignorance. His mother hugged him tightly, forgiving him and welcoming Mara with open arms. The next day, Ken held Mara in his arms, staring at her with wonder and love. His mother smiled at him and said, "Babies are a blessing, Ken. They bring so much joy and happiness to our lives. We should cherish them no matter what." Brenda watched with tears of joy as Ken bonded with Mara, grateful to see him happy again. As Mara grew older and turned 3, Brenda discovered that she was pregnant again. Ken was over the moon with excitement, spoiling Brenda silly and taking care of all her needs. As Brenda's pregnancy progressed, Ken took on more responsibilities, running errands for her and taking care of Mara. He dropped her off at school every morning and played with her after school, cherishing every moment with his daughter. Months later, Brenda gave birth to a bouncing baby boy, and to their surprise, he was also an albino. Ken and Mara welcomed him with open arms, showering him with love and affection. They named him David, and he quickly became the apple of their eyes. As the years passed, Ken and Brenda lived happily with Mara and David. They were no longer referred to as barren or judged for their children's skin color. Instead, they were admired for their love and devotion to their family. Together, they created a home filled with laughter, love, and acceptance, providing that true happiness comes from the love shared between family members, regardless of their differences. This story highlights the importance of not discriminating based on skin color. Despite the initial doubts about Mara's albinism, Ken and Brenda learned to embrace and love their daughter unconditionally. Through their journey, they teach the valuable lesson that everyone deserves acceptance and respect regardless of their appearance, emphasizing the need to reject discrimination and celebrate diversity within families and societies. Thanks for watching this captivating story on African stories and folktales. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories. Thank you.